podcast where the real world meets the digital world as we explore the intersection of spatial computing and AI. Let's welcome our host, Andrew Ballard. Over to you, AB.
Well, g'day and welcome to Spatial. This is episode 23, coming to you from, yes, deepest, darkest, emphasis on darkest in my part of the world. It's a bit late at night. Why is it late at night, I hear you ask? That's because I'm talking to Arseniy Sergeyev, who is in Riga in Latvia. So your part of the world, it's just turned over midday. Now, I'm basing this timing on the fact that we've coordinated this and the Tour de France starts in a little while. So I've sort of got my time zones really good. But Arseniy, welcome. Great to chat to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Great to be here.
Oh, look, I've got to say, and I'd better spill some beans. This is our second chat. We were chatting actually at the start of the year, even before we were chatting about doing a serious chat. We were literally having a good open conversation about what is spatial AI, where's it sit, what are you doing, what are you doing? Oh my God, that's so cool. The offer was made, I think, way back then, and it's great to be able to have time to circle back and actually find out what you're actually up to. What you are up to is an acronym that is new to me. The words themselves aren't new, but the way it's put forward is. So the acronym is AUI, Adaptive User Interfaces. And I'm mad keen to find out as much as I possibly can about it. What's a one-liner? What's the Twitter post? What's the hashtag? How would you explain it to a grandmother?
Well, if we're talking just about the adaptive user interfaces, AUI, it's basically the interfaces that adapt to what you want to do, what you need to do, right? So they understand your context and they give more relevant things for you to do rather than just a general universal interface. That's the idea.
Okay, so somewhat of the concept of a computer as a general purpose device where the screen changes for what we need it to do, and ironically, inputs and outputs, we're left with mouse and keyboard, mouse and trackpad as probably the only physical remnants of here have a keyboard, here have a way to move a two-dimensional thing. But in that same way that to abstract and keep on abstracting even beyond what we're playing with today, is it a function of I haven't got enough screen space, so I had to make it adaptive? Or why is AUI, why is this way to be adaptive and context aware? Why is this the future? What's the real gem behind doing this?
Well, the issue with the current interfaces, and I'm talking interfaces in quite in general terms, but of course we are most used to smartphones. We are most used to computers. Any screen that we have is our most common interface. But of course, there are more physical interfaces, some knobs, some switches that you have on the surfaces of objects. You have objects, you're putting a teapot on there. It's also an interface. But I'm more talking in this case, in this scenario, we're talking about adaptive user interfaces in the context of present times. It's mostly digital interfaces, right? On the screens, websites, apps, whatever we have. And so the issue with the current interfaces is that they are quite generalized. So they're quite standard and quite fixed to what you can do in them as a user. And the idea is that the issue is that different users obviously have different user journeys towards what they want to do and how they want to do it, right? Some people want to learn more information along the way. Some people want to just instantly do something and just don't worry about it. But the current state of the interfaces doesn't allow that. And the idea is to enable the interfaces to adapt more to your needs and to your individual context so that you don't have that hassle of going through someone else's user journey where your user journey is different. Okay. Gotcha. With AI, of course, this is finally more possible, and specifically with LLMs as well, because we can get a better understanding of the context of the user just from the free text prompts, right? And that allows to get even more information, which wouldn't be just static metrics, and adapt already based on that.
Wow. So being able to harness the interactions that are going on with the user and any system as part of that natural interaction, also being able to bend some of the, de-emphasize, focus, highlight, deprecate, but also morph and change to be context switching.
Exactly.
That's pretty phenomenal. Is that is this the Holy Grail? Is this a pipe dream? Is this being done in small elements right now, or is this like a new thrust of a design mode that is everyone's hoping will one day come out, but we're in alpha mode right now? Where is it on its own journey of context switching?
Well, I feel like that's the logical next step for the computing that we have. Okay, so because there's quite a big trend in terms of actually there's a big trend towards the computer disappearing. So the compute being all around us, the world being our interface. That's actually also the future that I'm building. And the current state of things is that it's just very early in the beginning. There are a couple projects that are doing that. So one example is Brain AI. They're doing really magical work. It's really beautiful in how you go from a prompt of what you want to do towards the options that you're presented to fulfill a task. So basically, you want to eat lasagna, for example, for the dinner. They have this demo, and it just generates an interface for you. It's a generative interface with them, and so it generates you an interface with all the products that you need, with the recipe, and you can buy through that. So it's not static interface anymore. It's already a generative interface which generates based upon your request. And that's already happening. They recently launched together with T-Mobile, I think in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. It's a global company, but I think it was in Europe. But the idea is that they made a phone specifically. It's a phone without the apps. It's an interface that adapts to your requests. And so there are some projects that are already working towards that. And there are a couple more that basically prepare the grounds for the data that is necessary to understand the context of the user and then adapt the interface to them. Okay,
gotcha. It sounds like the ratio of inspiration to perspiration is some awesome ideas, but there's a hell of a lot of work to be done under the hood to make it happen.
So now that the grounds are being set, I would say, and with AI, with all the generative AI specifically, it now allows to really get into the context and not only get into the context, but also do something with adapting to it.
Nice.
But otherwise, Facebook, Google, Amazon, they've been talking about ambient computing, ubiquitous computing for quite a long time. And then Google's Advanced Technologies and Projects department, they already started doing some work years before now. So they've been experimenting with sensors, with radars, how you can mix interaction from the physical world with the digital interfaces. And they are adapted to your context, right? So they're not just fixed. Super exciting.
Might come back to the hardware sensor stuff. I know that's something I can maybe throw dozens of questions at you, but just rolling it back a fraction, is it one way of looking at it, potentially, is it the purposeful opposite of muscle memory? I'm thinking of, we've gone through the era of icons everywhere, drop-down menus everywhere. I'm now thinking of the Photoshop sort of esque suite of palettes everywhere. And if it could stop, please moving my palettes around, that'd be great. But muscle memory is probably the thing that saves you. You know that's there. If your keyboard, if your fingers don't have the muscle memory for the keyboard shortcut, at the very least, your eyes can latch onto the icon, or you know that it's the third thing down in the fifth thing, or it's tucked away under here. All that's great, and it's great to be fast and proficient, but muscle memory is hard to get. And when that old man shakes fist at clouds, changes the interface on you every alternate season just because, that's quite tiring. Is this trying to be, don't try and learn something, I'm trying to be one step ahead of you? So in the example of baking lasagna, not having a predefined, they're doing a recipe, quick, bring up the recipe interface, but they seem to be doing something which will require a list over here, a timer here, and, pointers on the screen to say, put that with that. Is it that level of low-level fundamental building blocks that rise up to be smart, or is it actually today that mid-level of, we have a recipe tool, we have a scroll-less tool, and I'll just mash together the mid-level components until user is satisfied? Where does it sit on the perfect, lots of little good bits, or just on the fly, it comes out of nowhere and, lets you just do your job?
Right. Well, there's a fine balance to strike so that not to make people learn something new because we invented something new, and you need to learn how to interact with it. That's how many devices and interfaces are being created, and it's suboptimal. The idea is, first of all, is to reduce the number of actions that you need to do to get to your desired result, because all of those are micro frictions, right? So you know where the icon is, you know where the buttons are, but you do need to do those micro steps. All right, press this button to proceed to the next step. All right, what do you want to eat? All right, what do I want to eat? I select the meal. All right, what do I need to buy? The next step in the journey is, choose the groceries, add them to cart, pay. So those are all micro steps that cause micro frictions. And removing this muscle memory, like not having to do it at all, is already a good thing in a sense that, we're not stuck that much just by reducing those steps. We're not in a combination of different use cases in the day-to-day life. We are already much less stuck in the devices that we are at. We can raise our eyes from the device already a bit more. That's one thing. Yeah. But on another hand,
wiggle your mouse to find your cursor. Where did I leave it? Yeah. All those milliseconds not only add up, but they make you weary. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why voice assistants are sometimes very useful, that you don't have to take into your hands the device. You just say it if you have it already formulated in your mind. But it's a bit different topic. But then when we do keep some actions, which are, you do need to press some buttons, or do need to show some gestures to kind of to make a choice, make a decision. Or we add some new ones, we do want to rely on the existing muscle memory. And that's important, so that we don't make it a burden by kind of seemingly simplifying the mental effort by creating something new. We don't want to add additional mental effort of learning something.
Gotcha. So fall back to conventions where that actually is the fastest way to get a part of the job done.
Yeah.
But sometimes the whole might be radically different in different circumstances. Even if you do the same thing 3 times, you might get a different interface every single time.
And the question here is, to how much back do we go in terms of what is this what is this level of the actions, of the gestures that we're used to, that we go back to? Maybe we don't need anymore to click on to remember how to click on the icons of the apps, figuratively speaking.
True.
Ideally, I'm imagining that we do need to go back to the most natural ways of how we interact with the things. We're waving, or we're sliding. Basically, all right, those are already kind of screen native interactions, but it's just so they're more natural. Just how to explain. It's like,
well, we're getting into third dimension quickly, because with 2-dimensional screens and flat surfaces with mouse trackpad, they are an elegant solution to have a 2D input for a 2D device that you're trying to control. Perfect in many, many ways. Hence why it survived 40-something years. Yeah. Thank you, Xerox. And I won't get into the Apple debate, but thank you, Xerox, Park Xerox. But once you remove yourself from having to be a 2-dimensional flat thing to how bad I rotate it and, pinch to zoom and twist your fingers on a flat screen, there are good conventions. But what if you could be released from that? How do you see behind something? How do you grab? So is that part of the mix of already thinking outside the literal rectangles that we're bound by?
I would say so, yeah, because we can use still those same interaction modalities that we are using on the 2D screens, and the interface is the same pinch and zoom and sliding and scrolling. We can use it more in the 3D world, but it just in spatial computing, it doesn't make sense. As I'm seeing it, it doesn't make sense to put the same screens that we have on 2D surfaces, to put them as Apple did right now for many apps. It just makes much more sense for more natural and seamless interaction to have 3D modalities for interaction. You have a table here, you touch the table, you don't touch a window that says a table. That's a weird example, but like you do interact with the 3D objects. You don't interact still in the 3D environment with 2D screens as you do, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, correct. And it's such it makes sense to transition from 2D to 3D to have lots of floating screens around. It makes your shoulders tired, pinching to zoom and doing everything up here. I had some excellent play with the HoloLenses when they came out, version 1 and version 2, and they were good. If I am on the YouTube version, they were in a natural in front of you, but you couldn't go too far left, right. You basically had this. It was fun to watch different people sort of try and control things up here and hang on, the field of view of the sensors are, in a normal resting pose. It's lovely to see the Apple Vision Pro have a bit more range. You can meant to be on the couch and just go sort of click, and it should be able to pick those sort of things up. But to have not have your shoulders raised to manage multiple flat screens in 3D space around you versus I just want to have this screen where I would normally have it. I'm drawn to I don't have it here in front of me. It's probably a little bit dead, but I am the owner of a beautiful big Wacom tablet, one of the big ones. It's awesome. It weighs as much as this desk does, but it's glorious because with one big move, you could go from right in front of you to the whole screen would just become your desk, and you could be drawing and shading and painting and doing awesome stuff. But there weren't many times I went from upright to desk mode. It basically stayed in the one position for most of any given month till it was so big that it was unwieldy. But that different level of thinking is hard to get into, and once you're in it, hard to break out of.
Exactly. And then come the new best practices for the user experiences, for a good user experience. You're thinking about already more physical aspects of the interaction, which is a super important thing of interface design, rubber interface.
How did you get into this? How did you start this journey? Was it the classical? Was it from design first, or human need first, or from I'm a coder and this is broken, I need to fix it? What sort of avenue did you come into this realm from?
The quick answer is a combination, because it's one thing is that throughout my life I always wanted to create something on my own, something to improve the world. Every Apple event was like a special happening to me. It was like watching all those keynotes. With Steve Jobs still.
Yeah.
So
we're both almost wearing the black turtlenecks. We're not quite, but still. Yep, definitely a design inspiration for multitudes. Yeah, but how did you get into this then specific field, or how did you get to see that this is the thing that I desperately want to do?
Yeah, and so basically I've been inspired, and I want to create something as beautiful, as functional like this, and present it also to the world like in a very powerful way, so that it really changes how we do things. So we do things better. Then I got into in the university. I was in the retail specialization. Then we got into behavioral psychology people, and it was super interesting. It was about Kahneman, the classics, the nudging. How do you different bias, different behavioral stuff, behavioral things that actually can subconsciously nudge people towards one action or another. And it was super exciting because in the context of retail, you could make the life easier for the users by showing them the choice faster. And for the businesses better because they just have better chance of conversion. Yeah. Right. And then I said, right, I want to do something with that, something with understanding the user better and improving the experience for them. Then I also did take some additional courses. Then I, worked as in e-commerce with user experience optimization. So all that kind of came together, building up some skill in that direction. Yeah. But on a personal level, I think that was the biggest part. Is one part of this inspiration, but then another part is just being crazily frustrated by how imperfect our interactions are with the world right now. We still have to think about how to do things, and then
exactly. Or I've got something I can conceive. Yeah, gotcha.
It's like how to do things, and then we thought how to do it best. We considered different options. We took everything into account that has to be taken into account to make it optimally. We still need to do micro actions either in an app or compare options with apps. It's super frustrating. It does really take focus away from really important things, and that's when it hit me that. It just must not be that way. And the world should be, it's already going that way with all the big tech and smaller companies as well, startups, but it needs to get there faster. So that's how I got in there. And the ideas on how to do that have been in my mind, for, I would say 2 years, year and a half. And in the end, I understood, right, it's been too abstract, it's too ambitious, too big, but then we start with something smaller, of course, going to that big ambition.
I hear you.
That's the story of how and why.
You currently have on your LinkedIn bio, in that classic mode, you have a startup where you are the co-founder. The company name is, you haven't named it yet, and you're welcome to reveal or you're welcome to keep in stealth mode, perfectly honor that. Startup in adaptive user interface, which is just phenomenal. So in classic startup stealth mode, are you building? Are you prototyping? Can you envisage something that is really there? To have this idea in your head for 2 years sounds like, I forgot who the author was. My apologies if people are yelling into their headsets right now. There's a thing called the idea maze, and a creator or a founder comes up with lots of ideas, and ideas are free. They're cheap. You shouldn't get people sign NDAs because an idea is worthless unless you go through this process of testing it against yourself for as long as you can. And the good ideas fall out of that maze. They literally last the test of time, and you're still thinking about them, tuning them over, or they still are that bright light that you run back to even after multiple years. So this is obviously something that in your brain you've probably got tired of, dreamt of, put down for a little while, come back to it, and this is now your sole focus.
Exactly.
What's this journey? What's the startup stealth to non-stealth journey that you can foresee and you're willing to tell?
Right. Well, it's indeed in the stealth mode. It's I would say it's like semi-stealth because we do participate in some programs. We do mention what we do in the name of the company as well. But it's mostly it's stealth, not to be too early before we have something solid. That's
gotcha.
But basically, the idea is to build out the system that knows the user and then provides output for adapting the interface to them. And so at least showing the area already gets me to connect with the right people with the right competence who are also passionate about the field of making the interfaces more personalized and more optimal in terms of interaction. Okay, and so the path of that is I've been now for a couple of years, like, all right, year and a half. It's been a year and a half ago. It just started in my mind, quite abstract. I started putting it on the paper, conceptualizing of what does it entail, how do we get to implementing this. And because I've been involved in commercializing science, basically I've been involved with a platform that helps bring science from labs to market.
Excellent.
Mostly by connecting that with entrepreneurs to create deep tech startups. So I've been exposed to the process of how do we identify the science, its level, its core competence of the researcher team. How do we bring that to the market?
What do I need? What am I missing? Yeah.
And from there, a big good tool is being able to decompose the technology into its core components to understand which is your proprietary part, which is where you can cooperate with something, which is openly available,
and which is the special source where the real gem of the idea sits. Yeah.
And then you can understand where you protect your intellectual property, where you focus your efforts on, what you license or sell, etc.
Yep.
And with that approach, I decomposed the idea, the concept, into the core blocks of the technology. Nice. So we have 5G there, we have haptics there, we have some metamaterials, some smart materials that make objects smart. I'm talking now about the ultimate vision of making the world our interface, right?
Yeah.
But I had to start with something because it just it was blowing the mind because it was too big. So that's where I started decomposing.
You're trying to boil the ocean. How do you tackle something that is you can demonstrate, gets the idea through, but doesn't involve buying everything all at once and solving everyone else's problems before you can solve the core problem. Yeah,
exactly. And that helped to narrow down a bit and to understand what to start with. And what I came to is that the world. So the spatial computing is a huge opportunity. I think it's $700 billion in 10 years or something. But it's basically spatial computing is about interacting with the world as an interface, as I'm saying it, in different versions. Either it's AR, VR, or it's just smart materials, etc., smart objects, IoT. But the idea is that it must learn the user first, and that's what we're writing right now.
Okay.
And for that system, when I decomposed and understood what the core thing to start with, is the system that understands the user, understands their basically preferences, their past choices, their current context on an individual level, and understands the options that are available to them. And it processes that. It knows what information it needs for any given task in the user's day-to-day. And it provides the best options based on that. That's basically what we're starting with. right now it's in the we're testing the core algorithm right now, building it up. But the idea is that we need to find the core use cases. We have tested a couple of use cases. So then starting with day-to-day, it's like food, like choosing food and, what do you need to prepare for it? The whole user journey. It knows what's in your fridge, in real time. It knows what you prefer and knows what's available around you. And it puts those blocks together to get you the optimal version, the optimal options. And that's just one use case that we're starting with. We also did some conferences matching people properly under based on their profiles. Wine choosing as well. As a wine lover, it's just I'm not a wine professional, but I'm a wine lover for sure. But it just overwhelms with all the choice when you want to experiment. You want to be too wrong all the time.
Yeah, true.
So a couple of tries, but right now the next step towards going, as we said, out of stealth or into some real progress is really building a strong team to bring this forward.
Gotcha.
And also why it was great to use this opportunity to talk to you, because you do have exposure to really bright minds of people who are interested in human-computer interaction in different forms and ways. Right now, we're looking for a core team member, a co-founder, basically, who would help us to architect the solution, basically a solution architect, probably with background in machine learning, AI, and then probably backend full stack. So basically, someone to code this with, to build this with, but also a user experience designer to make this
who's aware of where it's going to lead to, and not just build an API and say, done my job. Yeah, gotcha. So that person also needs to have the context of what's coming down the line and 100% buy into the fact that this is going to get gnarlier quickly. So
exactly. Because we do have quite an early small team right now, but we need to move faster and in a more profound way to build the core of the system right now.
Lovely.
And also, of course, the guidance of people who are a bit further down the road in personal AI systems and adaptive user interfaces, overall in the human-computer interaction field. Right now, mostly about software, but later on as well hardware. So this is basically we need guidance and mentorship from those people. Those are basically two main components for it to move forward really well, as I'm saying.
I'm glad to hear. Oh, well, it's good to hear that you've got you've ruled out half the known world's problems by not trying to solve hardware first. You just stick with software. It's cheaper. Yeah. It's easier. It requires ones and zeros and a battery or 240 volts or 220 volts, 110 volts. However many volts you want. 5 volts is fine. In this early stage, are you also going to try and limit the use cases down to, let's say, adaptive user interfaces, but just for a smaller scenario of problems? Or are you going to try and do a foundational piece that tries to be that personal context tool with limited outputs for the first few phases of how it can help? Where's the focus on the software of going strong in a vertical in marketing terms, or be going to be going horizontal on the foundational piece? So you've got your own secret sauce in how you build up the knowledge of a person, irrespective of wine, coffee, lasagna choices.
Yeah, well, we do start with something with one certain use case, but in parallel, we do want to do the horizontal part. Because the horizontal part will be something that will be really impactful and enable much more seamless interaction with the world. And that's the big vision, what to build. We're starting with the food use case, basically taking the whole user journey and all the aspects of it and making super seamless and making it ultra personalized and optimal to the user. But then in parallel, we want to build the core system that will be adaptable to different use cases, right? So this one basically will help us learn on what are the key things, and then based on that, we'll be able to develop something already more foundational. And here the idea is that understanding what type of strength and what type of competence and this team would need, because this is a lot of research should be done there, right, for developing something foundational. So that's why we're starting with something more specific than to be more informed and more structured when we're doing something more foundational. That's the plan.
That will let you, for instance, in food, learn food preferences, likes, dislikes, what you have on hand, what you don't have on hand, if you're in a certain part of the world, you will never have X, but you may have Y. But that may give you deep insight into whether you need a personal context engine, a personal AI to be, this size, mega size, or humongous size. It might give you the first glimpses into whether you can get away with a small little nugget or, gem of an idea, or whether you need to go big quickly. And perhaps the same in the large language model lessons learned in the last few years of, yes, language models going from small to medium sized is good, but at some point in time, there's a break point where they just get good. And they do things that you didn't quite think of beforehand. So you might be looking for, where are our break points? Where is underbaked, to put the food metaphor back on the table? And where is, spot on, that can actually start to give you the guidance so you can transition to more and more personal knowledge. Yeah.
Exactly.
The ultimate vision links. Yeah, please.
Yeah, just say that ultimate vision is to have all the day-to-day things, and why food also is because it allows to iterate quickly to testing people. People eat every day. People eat several times a day.
It's a rather common theme amongst, people in this world. Good way. Yep, that makes sense. And everyone's got a bit of a preference. It's nice to sort of have that level of, what have I got on hand? What's I had yesterday? Can I have a cheese and biscuits for the 9th day in a row? No, it's time to mix it up. This seems like the dream end interface of really bad early apps that you'd take a photo with your fridge and it would come up with, given these ingredients, you can make X and Y and Z. This seems like the ultimate of that kind of tool.
I would think so, yeah. I would say so. Because it is already possible. You kind of take a photo. I think even with ChatGPT, can throw you some recipes on. There's Samsung Smart Fridge that does the analysis with the cameras of the fridge contents and reminds you to buy something.
A smart fridge.
It's kind of already towards that direction. But Samsung Fridge can only analyze up to 30 or something products at the same time. They also need ideally to be laid down very accurately for the system to recognize. So it's the precision. And I think going back to our first conversation, it was connected with, I reached out to you, I think, after your podcast about local AI or some, so there was the statement that there are those large models, but what we're really liking are those more specialized models based upon those that would really know much better how to analyze things. And in this case, it would really help that if we had a model that, can much better distinguish between the products if they're even piled up, not just very artificially laid down. So, but in this sense, there is still, there's a lack of connection between all of that. And there's a lack of universality in terms of your scenarios. Okay. So you might be sitting at home, you want to cook something or you want to order something. It's not all connected. You have Uber Eats separately. You have your smart fridge or wherever separately. But the idea is to have this user journey of eating optimized based on that for that user in a centralized manner. Right. So it's probably a single interface, or if the person uses some service, it adapts based on that user profile, already switching the blocks visually as well. So that's the ultimate indeed.
Personalized AI. You sent me some links, which I've done my homework on. So thank you for that. First one to give me some homework. Cheers. Saw some excellent TED Talks and some lovely other, great concepts. One here is called PAIOS, Personal Artificial Intelligence Operating System.
Oh, yeah.
Good to hear an Aussie voice on the end of it. And our first demos, it's definitely thin and starting, but the gem of it, obviously, I could see why you sent me the links to these sorts of things of, and to wind all the way back to that podcast episode that we did on local AI. I was having this chat with some of the team today, and we've gone from being a data scientist where you'd soup up your PC with a GPU and water cool it, and maybe overnight you might be able to bake a model and hopefully not, use all the power in your street, to that being impossible to do. Then you went to the cloud and grabbed an A100 for 30 minutes and, paid your $7 to one of the cloud providers and did the same thing quickly. But now we're almost giving that up to the large language models. The big foundation models in every data domain are the place you go for image, for language, for multimodal, for coding. And those large language models have no idea about you or me. I could ask it to draw two people having a podcast conversation facing their cameras, with a turtle tank in the background and yourself with black and white squares in the background. I couldn't ask it to draw AB and Arseniy. It would have no idea what that concept is. So being a general model means it just knows general things and can make general stuff up. I almost get people who are trying to recreate the Will Smith spaghetti videos these days because you can't type in Will Smith eating spaghetti. I don't believe. I think you have to basically prompt him into the prompt window.
I think so, yeah.
So that realm of we've gone from baking our own models to do our own personalized things. I don't just have pictures of cats and dogs. I have pictures of my cats and my dogs.
Yeah.
We've now forgiven all of that or foregone that to the power of these large foundational models, with the asterisk is that we've lost that personalized sense of, yes, but it doesn't know where I am. It doesn't know what my local street offers. It doesn't know where my closest X or Y or Z is. It has no idea even what a town is that I would name. It just goes, okay, I know the name of that town and I can tell you facts, but it can't tell you anything about it specifically. It's just regurgitating general knowledge. Yeah. So,
or you just prompt it all the time with all the data. You say,
gotcha.
What do I do in this town? I like this, I like this, I like this. But you have to write it down, so you just might as well give up because it's too long. You just figure it out yourself what to do there.
Gotcha. So. Yeah. This is the untold story of what happens behind the scenes in a lot of demos. So, to try and replay back to you, AUI, adaptive user interfaces, is not just the interface has smaller blocks, perhaps conventions and components where needed, where that is an elegant solution, but on the fly being able to use Gen AI to say, I need something that does vaguely this, draw me one. And if the user swipes left or swipes right, no, that doesn't solve the problem. You could reiterate it again. But that's the visual, not tactile, but that's the bit that the user plays with. But the important mirror to all of that is having that context under the hood to be able to know what they want, try and guess what they might need, infer their location, infer their tasking, infer routines, infer person. That's storing good amounts of data about a user. Is that challenge then to try and come up with a standard or a syntax, or is that someone else's problem? Is that personal AI context your core problem solving, or you can outsource that to someone else?
Well, here, the approach that we want to take is not to store the data ourselves, not to be able to look into that for each of the people, because with the data, we know the key question for everyone is, who gets to see my data, etc. And the key here is to keep it, if we're talking popular keywords, buzzwords, we say decentralized manner. Yep. I've been in an interesting meetup in London recently on the centralized AI topic. So it was blending a bit AI and blockchain, but it was an interesting perspective on thinking we have AI on devices. So the idea there is to have at least bigger part of the processing of the data and storing of the data on edge, either on the user's device or on the device that is, there's processing it and doing some actions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it doesn't go to the cloud, or if it goes to the cloud, it goes with the Apple's presumably safe approach that it's private cloud as they call it. So
gotcha.
The idea is that there's no central one entity that gets access to this data, because imagine if you have all the behavioral and preferences and past choices data for all the day-to-day things for all the people in the world. This is the new empire. This is the new, I would say,
that's the honeypot.
You can conquer the world.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You can conquer the world with that. And here the idea is to take more user-centric approach, so that they control who they give the data to, and they have the control over it.
Nice. Now, as you were saying that before, you said AI with Apple Intelligence, Apple's new rebranding of AI. Clever, also painful, but then again, they did have the I
Apple
everything
style
for 20 years, so we're all used to the I everything. We've I rolled so many times. This does sound like it's a great fit. I'm thinking when you said about privacy and security in that regard, my first thought was it the private enclave on your devices? That is the classic Apple portion of your phone, your personal computer, watches. Doesn't quite go to earbuds yet, I don't believe, but still. Actually, no, I've seen some patents. It's early and may never happen, but I've seen some patents where a future version of AirPods, earbuds, one day may be sensing your blood, your temperature, your other stuff. So going into your
I think
health.
it might be even coming in the next edition.
It is coming?
I think I read something. Maybe so soon.
Gotcha.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
don't remember exactly.
But you're absolutely right. This does lead itself to and these conversations with those sorts of San Francisco, Silicon Valley-based companies who have privacy basically everywhere. And to have that distributed intelligence, it's still pretty radical that there are more AI processing chips on our phones than there are, I think on the ratio of CPUs, GPUs, and TPUs or AI processing units. I think most things are AI. Like that is where the lion's share of the processing power comes through. When you take a photo, you're not actually taking a photo. You're keeping a shutter open for a very long time, and it figures out what you're taking a photo of and adjusts things so that, the sky is blue, people vaguely have rosy cheeks and they don't look like they're bright green. There's a lot of work going on when you think you're taking a photo. There's no single click and film is exposed. That level of local processing first, where that is not possible, go up to a cloud, private cloud. I'll anonymize the request though, so it has less of a, can be farmed less. This does sound like to me that there is a certain company you need to be talking to at some stage. Keen to confirm or deny that they're on your hit list?
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a lot of integrations, first of all, to also be able to provide those options to the user and smoothly do them, right? So there will be a lot of technologies that we will need to partner with or integrate with also to make it possible. So it's not just service providers, but also to the providers of the technology who do the, for example, the security bit, right? So we'll work with the best in class to provide the security and anonymization of the data, and in similar fashion with other parts of the system as well. But I'm just saying that the distribution is super important, and Apple is doing quite. They're the biggest in terms of or one of the biggest with the devices with the user base. So if we can get there to the devices, of course, this will be a win. But everyone wants to get that access to the user base.
They have the whole stack. They control the hardware, the software, and they've got a real big focus on the experience and making it seamless. So it definitely leads in that direction quite well. But irrespective of that, being able to tap into any phone, I dare say a phone or a flat screen is going to be the interface for a while. Looking through a phone lens in AR style, panning it around your kitchen and having on that screen overlaid what you wish to inform the user they can do with things. That's the interim or long-term technology until we all get, again, smart glasses and...
I would say even brain implants, but this is further away, but not that far. It's just a super direct way of how to interact with things. You just don't need an intermediary thing almost. You don't need it. But it's a bit further. It's a bit of a different topic. But I would say even AR glasses, VR glasses, there's a lot of things that can be much more predictive towards the user, much more proactive towards the user if the system knows them, right? Yeah, okay. And also, all such devices as the Rabbit R1, I imagine if it knew already your context, it could at this point already connect to at least some services, which it couldn't, unfortunately. But I'm hoping for a very cool over-the-air software update in several months that will make it magic. Right now, it's a bit not that useful. But imagine that if it really held information about your profile or could connect with it, that will be a whole different story. You wouldn't have to describe all the context that you want to do. You'd say, order me food. It already knows what you want.
Because surely your context doesn't switch every alternate 10 seconds.
That's right.
Probably find cases where it does, but in general, for the next hour, I'm hungry, I'm in food mode. After that, I've got to do X or Y. You don't need to pull something probably every millisecond, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You could probably, I last checked context 5 minutes ago. I don't think that's changed. We're still exercise mode or commuting mode or
exactly.
focused on work mode. Gotcha.
And then you have all the health data that's coming in. It's like all the different types of data, more and more that are coming into the system, they're being processed. And then you create an almost, it's like basically this, digital twin term. It basically will be a digital twin view that will be up to, kind of adapting the world to you. That's the ultimate vision.
Yeah.
And you have the objects with all the information and the actions that you have, that they have. For example, the table may have some information, again, about some groceries in your fridge, or maybe if it's a work desk, then it has your email or something like that, notifications. Yeah. Basically, it already adapts. It shows what you need to see as a person. Another person comes in, they see different groceries because they're vegan. They come to the work desk, they don't see nothing because they have privacy access or like the security. Yeah. So in that sense, that's the big division. I'm thinking the world is going, it should be going, and it should be going at a faster pace. And that's what I hope to contribute to.
Mate, what's your prediction? Can I get you to do the Bill Gates, the world only needs 5 computers kind of stupid prediction that will hang you on a few years later? But what sort of timeline do you think something like this is in its infancy, and what time do you think this might really hit its stride? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or this is a 10-year kind of journey?
I'm thinking it's in the range of 5 to 10 years, because right now we are basically with this all the base systems and solutions being built. It is setting the grounds for being able to get the needed data, process it, understand the context better, and then do something with it. For example, I'm a big follower of the Archetype AI project. So the same guys from the Google ATAP, they went away, they built their own stuff, and it is super profound in the way of how you bring the context from the physical world into the digital one. So you do have, you process what the sensors see, basically time series data, they process it and understand what happens either from the cameras, from the sensors, and their system makes sense out of what happens in the real world. And then in the digital realm, you can do some calculations, do some predictions, etc. So that already sets the base of where do we get the data? How do we make sense of the world? But then next step is what do we do with it? And if they are already they're already doing some stuff. So it's really moving fast. So I would say 5-10 years, maybe it's already too long. So 5 years or so.
Right. Yeah. So between 5 and 10, but if you were able to be positive, closer to 5, if there's a lot of unknowns in there, then okay, closer to 10. That's wild. A problem I would like you to solve for me, if you are talking to any One Infinite Way company, Apple Watch, and here's a real life problem that I hope your future adaptive interface will solve. If you're going for a walk, it does. If you don't set things, it says, it seems like you're going for a walk. Would you like to record? Yes, I would. And it does that after many hundreds of meters because it figures out pretty confidently that you've been going for a walk for a while. We live in Australia where we live on the quarter-acre block, and every weekend in spring and summer, you've got to mow the lawn, don't you? So the great Australian dream is mowing that backyard and doing laps up and down, mowing the silly thing. I'm getting up a sweat. I'm breathing heavily. My watch should know that I'm exercising, but I haven't left my Wi-Fi and I haven't actually left a radius. So it never, ever, ever suggests, hey, it seems like you're doing some medium level exercise. Would you like to record this? Of course, that is, for me, that's a cracker of a use case for context. If it could know that every alternate, it's on a weekend and it's, in winter you don't have to, and in summer you don't have to. In Australia, the grass is dead. But in spring and autumn, fall, goodness me, the sound of lawnmowers on the weekend is what, a shrimp on the barbie and lawnmowers is pretty much the classic Australian weekend. That level of context awareness, it shouldn't be hard to figure out that it's on a day that's a Saturday or a Sunday, and I've left X or Y, but my heart rate's up and I'm doing something for an hour and. Obviously, that level of context is easy. If I can speak that context, you can probably put a rule somewhere and someone can find a way to action that with real code. That's not AI. That's fine. Real code works beautifully many times. But is that the kind of level of nuance you would love to be able to capture on a personalized level of different people in different scenarios and knowing routines, actions, spotting the patterns in daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say in our case, it would be more about if you're going for a walk, it reminds you to get something. It knows that you're going for a walk, for example, and it reminds you to grab some water or something. So it basically provides you additional things from the real world that you need to remember of or to do. But in that sense that it already knows what you're doing, what's happening, there are already systems like that. For example, the same archetype AI. For example, you have a camera or some sensors that you're walking around. It understands what's happening. You're walking, you're probably sweating because it's hot outside and you're doing quite a lot of walking. So in this sense, it's more about when you have certain, in our case, it's more about when you have certain thing you want to do, and it already predicts what you need in the all the things you need to take into account or do for achieving that in the optimal way. So it's more about when you do want to have something. But also, after that, when it realizes that something is happening, it will most probably remind you that, hey, your heart rate is high, you're sweating, grab some water, something like that.
Gotcha. So it's more about less task focused, like I am going exercising or I am going to make a meal, but more delighting in the moment of,
ultimately, yes.
It's
predictive, proactive.
You haven't eaten, you're in the kitchen, let's get stuff out and let's get going, or putting together parts of your daily routine that even you had forgotten about, but it's able to suggest on the fly, build a way to show that to you and then back away. So it's a way to be, context switching at its finest.
Yeah, that's exactly where interfaces are going. Basically, right now, in our case, also specifically the same thing, but basically it's in general. So first of all, it's task focus. Right now, it's prompt focus. You have to write everything in the prompt. All right, we simplify how we get to the task results in the optimal manner. This is our current focus. But then all the other interfaces, and for us also the logical evolution will be that it's already knowing how you do tasks, when do you usually do those tasks and how you do them. It already practically suggests, hey, I'm feeling you're hungry. Actually, I just finished the book. I sent to you this interface design. It just came out. I just straight away ordered it. It's by Guillaume Couchet. So it's a French name. I might be wrong. I might be wrong in pronouncing it, but basically the final chapter is about what's the future, and that's exactly the proactivity of the interfaces being able to already know. You're looking at a banana, specific example from the book. You're basically looking at a banana. All right, it already orders you the food that you like, so you don't have to think about it. It already comes to you, and then it comes. Then when the human really blends with the machine. So of course, different sides to it. Where do we know that it's our decision?
What do you tackle first?
That we processed rather than already the AI or the algorithm basically reading our subconscious thoughts without us being or managing to make that decision before it's already delivered. So, but it's an interesting thought experiment to think how far will we go. Also, Novel Yuval Harari wrote about the ultimate vision of we won't be communicating, but our assistants will be communicating for all the decisions. And then, for example, even the romantic partners will be finding out that. So that's we can go super crazy far in the future. But the idea, the trend is towards proximity.
You're going to be doing like the duck paddling furiously underwater, but looking serene on top. There's going to be a hell of a lot of furious paddling and connections to be made at the back end. But the goal is to be as interface-free, context-switching, context-aware, and as you said, reading your mind without having to read your mind. That's an admirable goal. Mega goal,
and you know
really.
Why? To live life, not technology.
Hey.
Because we're too stuck in screens that we have right now and devices overall, not just screens. To do something. Why don't we just want to do something? We spend as little time thinking about it and doing it, but really enjoying the results of that. That's everyone the big thing, to make it humane.
Everyone has something which, even though it hurts, it kind of feels good doing it the long, slow way because they're in control. But, being able to give up more and more stuff to be able to just, hand wave it and have it done is glorious. And we can do that these days because of, CPU power to energy is climbed beyond belief.
Yeah.
I was talking about systems today where, if you have a data set, not long ago, you would throw a few models at it and you would get good results. Now you can kind of, before you go to lunch, tell your meta AI, not your meta AI, but your mega AI to process it all the ways, like literally process it in all the known models from this list. And even though most of those are going to be stupid with what your data set is, with what the model is, there's no harm. One day you might be pleasantly surprised there was one odd idea that just, was a delight that you hadn't thought about because it was outside your knowledge base. And sometimes it does just, to justify that what you thought was great. But that there's far less penalty now for doing things aspirationally beforehand, having agents running in the background. Yeah, our cents per watt per compute power that it does per cycle, it is just, gone astronomically so much that the penalty is reduced to you're now in control of the next level of interface that I am seriously looking forward to. Name of your startup, can we reveal, or links in show notes? I guess the question 0 in this section is, how do we get in contact with you if not LinkedIn? So what's the way to reach out, Arseniy?
Yeah, I think I'll leave my email for you, so that we just keep it as the contact email. Yeah, I think that's the best way. Just write to me. I might leave also the number, but I don't think it's necessary, especially given that I'm right now in Europe. So for everyone it will be a bit too expensive to call.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I'll just leave some contact details.
Makes perfect sense. Can we do a follow-up? Are you doing an excursion to Silicon Valley, a extended stay, a couch surfing like the best of everyone to see how long you can last, to funding and find partners? Or when can we check back in with you to see what the next steps for both your co-founder hunt has gone, but also how your meetings and conversations have gone? When's a good time to check back in?
I think in a month or so, maybe towards September, because I'm thinking to go in a couple of weeks' time. There is I think it's a Techstars hackathon specifically on personal AI, on this personal AI operating system. So I'm really hoping to meet some really exciting people there, connect with people, and also to meet with some of the guys already creating stuff on the cutting edge, Market AI, from Brain AI perhaps as well. So whoever is in Silicon Valley, I'll try to get a hold of. But I'll be there for a couple of weeks, I think.
Legendary. Arseniy, thank you so much.
In a month or so.
Absolute joy to chat to you now formally and with the record button going. We've had part of this conversation, but before we even got into the detail here, many, many moons ago, but great to have you back on to be able to talk to you at length. From
Absolutely.
all your homework links, I will put most of those links in the show notes I can possibly find. There might be a bit of the brain dump there, so apologies if they might be in alphabetical order, but that's about it. There might need to be some context switching there too to make that happen. Your details will be there 100 times, so it should be easy to catch hold of you. And by all means, we really are looking forward to seeing what this future brings. The spatial computing world is probably one of the biggest doors that needs to be open to solve the gnarly problems. There's been a lot of incremental and evolutionary growth in these fields, but it definitely does take a revolutionary way to do it. I'm rapt to hear that you're in the software space. You're trying to do the human problems first, and figure out where's your niche to be able to play with. And I'm glad you're not trying to humane pin rabbit. Notwithstanding, the world has shifted that way. Maybe it shifted back to, but that rectangle in our pocket probably is the best bang for our buck, and let's use that for a bit longer. But I'm just, super thrilled to watch this journey, and encourage you to say, hurry up. We want what you're thinking about. So please make one. That'd be great.
We will. And that's why it's my pleasure being here. Thanks for having me, because I'm realizing that I'm actually one of the several brightest minds that have visited this podcast, I would say. So it's great to be here. Thank you. It's been a great conversation. So yeah, it's looking forward to get in touch with people who could help us bring this faster, as you said.
We'll
That's the
spread
goal.
the word as far as we possibly can. This will be
Super.
both. You're probably either listening to this or watching this on YouTube. You've scrubbed right to the end to go straight to the whodunit. From us, though, we'll leave episode 23 there, and we'll catch you next week on Spatial. Arseniy, thank you so much. And to all, we'll catch you next time. Cheers all.
Absolutely. Stay in touch. Cheers. Bye-bye.
If you'd like more news and insights about spatial AI, or have a story or interesting topic you'd like us to cover, reach out to us. Or better yet, come and join the community at Spatial. All the links are in the show notes.